In December 2018, police responded to a domestic violence call made by 41-year-old Elisha Pankey regarding her husband, Leland Pankey. But during the investigation, the police ended up making an even more sinister discovery. The Pankey's son, Caden McWilliams, was nowhere to be found. When questioned about Caden, Leland tried to change the subject and avoided talking about him. Eventually, the police search led to the Pankey's storage unit, where investigators found the missing boy, encased in concrete. What happened in the final months of Caden McWilliams' life, and why did no one realize he was missing for so long? Welcome back to Killer Bites, the show giving you bite-sized coverage of true crime stories. I'm your host, Brandy. Let's find out what happened. Caden was born on December 20th, 2010 in Colorado. He was a bright, curly-haired boy who spent the first 5 years of his life living with his maternal grandmother, Martha McWilliams. Caden loved trying to learn how things worked, and his family imagined he might grow up to be an engineer. Meanwhile, Caden's parents, Elisha and Leland Pankey, had another child, a baby girl, shortly after they got married in 2014. However, by 2016, the Pankeys decided to cut Elisha's mother, Martha, out of their lives because Martha suspected Elisha was addicted to painkillers and had stopped giving them money. Still, Martha did her best to continue checking in on the family to make sure Caden and his younger sister were doing okay. But unfortunately, the situation still continued to deteriorate in the Pankey household. Within the next few years, there were many instances of domestic violence. Leland had begun beating Elisha. This took a heavy toll on her. According to their landlord at the time, Elisha began to change. She used to be extremely outgoing, but soon she became very withdrawn and was reluctant to even leave the house. By early 2018, the Pankeys were evicted from their residence. From that point forward, they began to stay in hotels. Meanwhile, 7-year-old Caden was making the best of his situation. He attended school at Ellis Elementary in Denver and was reportedly a good student despite his troubled home life. Teachers and staff members described Caden as a kind and sweet boy who always came to school with a big smile on his face. Classmates loved Caden too. They wanted to be his friend and sat together with him at lunch. May 24th, 2018 was the last day Caden attended school, even though the school year wasn't officially over until the end of the month. And in August of 2018, Elisha informed the school that Caden would not be coming back. Instead, he would be homeschooled. This is a big red flag to me because in so many child abuse cases, it becomes much harder to detect maltreatment when a child is isolated from others and kept at home. But what the school didn't know was that in this case, Caden was actually already dead by this point. Christina Hafler, Caden's teacher, said she never would have guessed that something so terrible could happen to such a sweet child. So what happened that summer after Caden was pulled out of school? The truth sadly remained hidden until almost the end of the year. On December 21st, 2018, the Aurora Police Department received a call from Elisha with a domestic violence complaint. Responders went to the extended stay hotel where Elisha was living to investigate what happened. However, it quickly became clear that domestic violence was not the only issue. Police also noticed that there appeared to be a substance resembling heroin in Elisha's hotel room. Because of the heroin, law enforcement was able to obtain a search warrant. They then discovered a business card for Elisha's storage unit facility with the access code written on the back. Elisha had been renting the storage unit since May 17, 2018. Notice that this was only days before she pulled Caden out of school for good. During the investigation, police also learned that Elisha had 2 children. When they asked her about the children's whereabouts, she told police that both kids were staying with their father, Leland. At this time, Leland was staying in Denver at a different hotel than Elisha. Elisha spent most of her time at the office where she worked, despite having the option to work from home. So therefore, Leland was a stay-at-home dad to Caden and his sister. As the investigation continued, police began to look for Leland, who had an active domestic violence warrant listed. He was found getting into a black BMW and taken in for questioning. The car was impounded and crystal meth was discovered inside the vehicle. Meanwhile, police began asking Leland where his children were, since Elisha claimed they were both with him. While Leland willingly told police his daughter was at daycare, he dodged questions about Caden. Whenever police would ask about Caden, Leland changed the subject and avoided giving any information. Leland finally suggested that maybe Caden was with Elisha. By this point, police were suspicious. Both parents were claiming that Caden was with the other person, and clearly neither parent seemed to be in a healthy environment for a child, as drugs had been found with both of them. At this point, the search was on. Where was Caden? Police then received a tip from an associate of Leland, which directed their attention back to the storage unit. Details are murky, but apparently Leland had told this woman he had lost his son months earlier and that she could have the storage unit because Leland wanted nothing to do with it anymore. Suspicious. Detective Meadows from the Aurora Police Department quickly obtained a search warrant so investigators could comb through the storage unit for evidence, but nothing could have prepared them for what they found inside. On December 23, 2018, detectives and canine investigators entered the storage unit. Inside, there were piles of clothing and random items, some plastic storage containers, plus several gallon-sized water jugs and partially empty bags of concrete mix. There were also concrete particles covering a lot of the floor, leading to a strange rectangular-shaped object which was wrapped with many layers of black trash bags and secured with duct tape. As detectives began cutting away layer after layer of the plastic trash bags and tape, a strong, foul odor began to fill the room. The canines signaled to their handlers that they had detected signs of human remains, confirming the investigators' suspicions. At this point, homicide detectives were also called to the scene and continued to collect evidence. The next day, Christmas Eve, the Denver Medical Examiner's Office was able to remove and identify a body from the rectangular object, which turned out to be a dog crate filled with cement. The remains were badly decomposed, so identification could not be immediately made, but it appeared to be the body of a young child. Sadly, this was Caden. A post-mortem revealed that Caden was severely malnourished, weighing only 27 pounds at the time of his death. They also found numerous other injuries, including a fractured skull and broken arm. Shockingly, there were also traces of methamphetamine and cocaine found in Caden's liver. The forensic pathologist ruled Caden's manner of death as a homicide. It was clear that Caden had been severely abused and mistreated before ultimately passing away and being hidden in the storage unit. On December 29th, a new witness came forward and met with detectives on the case. She explained that she and Elisha had both been in the same cell block at Arapahoe County Jail on December 22nd. After sharing some conversations with each other, Elisha revealed to her fellow inmate that Caden had died in the dog crate. Elisha shared that in late July, she and Leland had been staying in a hotel with both of their children. At this time, Caden was being kept in the dog crate. Leland dehumanized Caden and insisted that Elisha referred to the child as Dog instead of using his name. Leland also put blankets over the top of the crate despite the summer heat. At night, Elisha heard Caden crying out loud, saying he was hot and needed water. It is devastating that Elisha just stayed in bed and didn't lift a finger to help her son who was suffering. I can only guess that the combination of drugs, abuse, and mental health issues must have been overwhelming. The following morning, she discovered that Caden had passed away, maybe from suffocation. Leland also verified that Caden had died. Together, they put the dog crate in their car with Caden still inside. They then bought concrete and trash bags. Elisha and Leland took the crate to their storage unit and sealed Caden inside with the concrete. One inconsistency with Elisha's story is that the autopsy suggested Caden may have passed away as early as May. This would have been shortly after he was pulled out of school. So it's possible Elisha may have confused or misrepresented the timeline of events. Thanks to the testimony of the witness who came forward, an arrest warrant was issued. And on January 2nd, 2019, Elisha turned herself in. Elisha signed a plea deal and took full responsibility for her role in Caden's death. She claimed her life had spiraled out of control in the year leading up to Caden's passing. Elisha was sentenced to 32 years in prison for her failure to protect Caden from Leland's abuse and for her complicity in hiding the body. But Denver District Court Judge Bruce Jones has said it's likely Elisha will serve far less than her full sentence because of how Colorado's justice system works. Judge Jones also sentenced Leland to 72 years in prison, more than double the time Elisha received. This was mainly because Elisha pleaded guilty first and provided information which led to Leland's arrest. During the sentencing hearing, Caden's extended family asked that Leland never be allowed to leave prison or come into contact with his remaining child, Caden's sister. Thanks to the court ruling, it's probable that Leland will spend the rest of his life behind bars. Sarah Cruz, Caden's aunt, is now the caretaker for Caden's surviving sister, who was deeply traumatized by the abuse she witnessed from her parents. Caden's extended family expressed deep guilt and sadness that they didn't realize he was suffering and weren't able to save him from what happened. If there's any silver lining to this story, at least Caden's sister is now living in a more stable environment with her aunt. I truly hope that she's able to recover from the horrors she was forced to witness, and that with time she can begin to heal from the trauma. Lastly, I'd like to take this opportunity to give a reminder that it's incredibly important to speak up if you suspect child abuse. You can always call the Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline, which is available 24/7. And that brings us to the conclusion of Caden's story. Do you think that justice was served? Did Elisha and Leland receive fair sentences? Were they equally guilty for what happened to Caden? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I'm your host, Brandy, and this is Killer Bites.